You're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe.
Alright, hopefully this is focusing. What is up, everyone? For this Wellness Wednesday, I'm going to be going over a couple misconceptions or just myths. I said myths. Myths. Either way, it's just going to sound like that. I'll just own up to it. I said myth. Anyway, when it comes down to it, the first one is high protein diets damaging your kidneys. For a healthy individual, there is no actual evidence whatsoever that a high protein diet is going to damage your kidneys. Someone who already has a kidney condition, already has a liver problem, already has heart problems or something like that, then yeah, your nutrition being changed can affect that, which is why you should always talk to a doctor. You should always do this, you should always do that ahead of time. Do your own research and make sure when you're doing your own research, don't just take and quote the very first thing that pops up, because I'll Google something every once in a while just to jog my memory, or I learn something new and I Google something. The very first thing that pops up is not always the most accurate. It's not always the most reliable. A lot of times I'll see stuff and it'll be like Wikipedia, and I'm like, yeah, that's not the most reliable. I shouldn't quote that. But when it comes down to it, I start to digress from that. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to get back on the subject. A high protein diet is not going to damage your kidneys, especially if you're a healthy individual. Now, if you already know that you have kidney conditions that run in your family, talk to your doctor. If they tell you have healthy kidneys and you decide to put into a high protein diet, which is around, I said, for a very sedentary individual, the bare minimum just to survive is I usually say 0.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And that's the bare minimum for a guy. For a woman, if I remember right, is 0.36 of a gram per pound of body weight. But let's just point it at 0.5 of a gram, or half a gram of protein per pound of body weight. Let's just say that for men and women. Now that's the bare minimum in order to survive. There's people that are eating 1 gram per pound of body weight, 2 grams per pound of body weight, 3 grams per pound of body weight, something like that. Now, if you are eating between, let's just say, 1 gram to 2 grams or 2.5 grams, there is no actual evidence saying that a healthy individual who's eating that much for their body weight is going to have severe issues. Is that going to damage their kidneys? Is going to damage this? Is going to damage that? There's no actual evidence, especially accurate studies that are most recent, that can back it up. Now, yes, there are some that says if you already have a kidney problem, then yeah. But if you already have a kidney problem, if you already have a liver condition, if you already have this or have that, and you end up eating or drinking something that is going to trigger it, then yes, it's going to worsen it. And I don't understand why people still think that this myth is applied to everyone, saying that this high protein diet is going to damage everyone's kidneys. It's going to cause you to have kidney failure. It's going to cause you to have all these different things. No, it depends on how healthy you are. If you're a healthy individual with no kidney problems and your protein is roughly in that time, or roughly within that range of 1 to 2 or 1 to 2.5, then that's fine. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Especially if you have plenty of water and you just are overall, your nutrition, your sleep, your water intake, your training, everything's good. Now, the second misconception is the fact that carbs or fats are bad. That's been around for decades. I've lost count how many studies, and that's why I mentioned, make sure it's more accurate, more reliable studies, because some of them will say, and they'll be really, really biased, saying, oh, carbs are the enemy, or fats are the enemy, or they'll have a clickbait title or something like that. Don't rely on those. What I say, if you're going to do you're going to do your research, look for studies by reliable and trustworthy, independent sources. Ones that you can look around and say, okay, this is what they said. I looked around and saw it on another one, and they're able to back up the same thing these people are saying. If you can do that from multiple different sources, then you know there's a high likelihood that it's a more accurate, more reliable information, and that you can honestly use for yourself. Now, when it comes down to the last thing I want to go over is the scale. And I'm not talking about weighing your food. Weighing your food is actually going to be really helpful for you. Now, depending on how disciplined you are, you can always do that. And they're relatively cheap to buy. But I'm talking about the scale that you step on. Because a lot of times people step on that and they get really discouraged when they don't see the weight is going down. Understand that you can hit a plateau when it comes to the weight loss, but you could be performing way better. I have clients who are in their 60s who have lost 8 pounds in a month, and all they've been doing is just training and working on their nutrition, but then they hit that plateau. They are upset that they're looking at the weight and it hasn't gone down. But then you compare the measurements, which is why I say focus more on the measurements. Focus more on how you feel, how you look, because ultimately that is what you honestly should care about. How you feel, how you look, those measurements. If you can perform better, if you look better, if those clothes are fitting looser, or if you are someone who's trying to gain weight and you see that something is fitting tighter and it wasn't before, then that is something to be proud about. Be proud of your accomplishment. Now, when it comes to the actual scale, the scale has its place every now and again, but don't focus on it on a weekly basis. Don't focus on it every single month and being discouraged and all that. Take into account how you look, measurements, and how you feel. When it comes to how you look, I usually tell people I'm gonna go back. You can do this for yourself. You can keep this for yourself. You don't have to show me or anything. Take a photo of your front, side, back. Now, you can do this in whatever clothes you want. Of course, if you do it in a little bit more revealing clothes, then you'll be able to see where you could be skinnier, you could be fatter, or something like that. Or you could have more muscle in a certain area, you could have all these different things. If you are doing comparisons, then you want it to be relatively as accurate, as close as possible. So if you do it in the same room, that's perfectly fine. Likelihood of it being in the same room, the lighting is really good, or the lighting is just perfect, so you can do the comparison like, okay, I'm leaner on my face, I'm leaner on my neck, or I'm leaner on my arms, I'm leaner here, or my stomach, I know the measurement has gone down, because I know people who are so discouraged by the scale, but then I show them the measurements, I show them their numbers, I show them that they are getting stronger and their waist is getting smaller. Understand, that scale does not take into account, a lot of them, especially accurately, does not take into account if you have water weight, or if you need to take a crap, if you just ate, if you are gaining more muscle on you. Because ultimately, if you are performing better, if you are getting stronger, if you are getting leaner, there's a high probability that you're getting more muscle on you than fat. Now, when it comes down to, if you have any questions, when it comes to the nutrition, when it comes to your supplementation, when it comes to exercising, when it comes to anything like that, you can always DM me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and stay strong.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians.